All right, it is my turn. So pick 11. Here we go. First pick Ezekiel Elliott. I had no intention of using this pick on anyone except for Odell Beckham Jr. As Sarah can probably attest, I have had my eyes on Odell Beckham Jr. since his trade to Cleveland. Yeah. So I fully intended for this to be the first year I was going to take a wide receiver with my first pick. I'll get into the Odell thing when I get to because I took him the second round. But yeah, I fully intended to take Odell. I had him as the he wasn't the best player on my board, but I wanted him. He was the guy I wanted on my team. But the only players I had above him were or who I was going to take over him were Barkley, McCaffrey, Kamara, and Elliott. I If it was Le'Veon Bell or Elliott, I was taking Elliott. If it was Chubb or Elliott, I was taking it, or Chubb or OBJ, I was taking OBJ. If it was David Johnson or OBJ, I was taking OBJ. If it was Connor or OBJ, I was taking OBJ. If it was Gurley or OBJ, I was taking. You get the idea. But one of the players I had on my board higher, Ezekiel Elliott. And I know obviously why he dropped the contract dispute. Everyone's scared of what happened with Le'Veon Bell last year, and you don't know, I don't know, we don't know if he's even going to play week 1. He could sit out 2 games, he could sit out 3 games, he could sit out half the season, and I don't get him till week 9. But Andre likes to call himself a gambler. I don't know if I would say I'm a gambler. I like risk though. I definitely do like risk. I'm not boom or bust like Patrick. I like injury risk. And I would say I like that rose colored upside. I love chasing upside. Upside is what I build my teams around. Upside is where I'm going. If you don't have upside, I'm probably not drafting you, and you're not going to be on my team. Or I'll put you on my team, but you're not going to be there for long because I'm going to dump you somewhere. Um, I usually don't like the players like Keenan Allen who are just very consistent and have that floor, but will get me to the playoffs, and then I will lose to the team that has Odell Beckham Jr. So yeah, I don't know when Ezekiel Elliott's going to play. I hope he signs a contract before their game on Sunday. I would imagine he would have to sign the contract before Wednesday in order for him to at least have be in the meetings for the game plan for the game on Sunday. Maybe he'll sign a contract this weekend. That's what the latest reports say. But I was going to take Elliott regardless if he fell this far. If I had a top 5 pick, I was going to take Elliott. Um, I don't like the Cowboys, but Elliott's a monster. I mean, he would be if he missed 4 games, like he missed 6 games, for example, a couple years ago. If he missed 4 games, so you took out his 4 best games last year, he was still a top 12 running back in fantasy football. That's how good he was. Um, and I'm picking at 11. So yeah, that's my threshold. I'm picking at 11. If he misses 4 games, he's still a top 12 running back. He was like ninth, I believe, last year. If you take out his 4 best games, let's do it. Sure, why not? I like risk. I can figure it out later. I will take the running backs necessary to make this work. I was going to take running backs regardless because I believe in that. But yeah, no, absolutely. If I want OBJ, but maybe he'll come back around me. We're gonna take the risk. We're gonna jump in because there's no way Elliott's gonna last to the second round. I'm sure Patrick will probably take him. Someone will take Elliott at some point. So why not it be me? I like risk. Let's go. So I mean, he's a monster. I have him as the I have him ahead of McCaffrey and Kamara. I have Elliott as my number 2 running back if he were to play all 16 games right behind Barkley, which is funny. They play in the same division. But yeah, no, 11th pick, I would have taken him over a number of what you guys ended up ahead of me picking. I would have taken Elliott just because, I like the risk. Let's go for it. I'm not here to make the playoffs. I'm here to win a championship. So, which leads me to my next pick, second round, Odell Beckham Jr. So, I actually, on my board, I have Odell as the sixth, as my number 6 receiver, okay? So, like, I'm aware of, like, where he was on the board. Like, I have Hopkins, Devontae Adams, Julio Jones, Michael Thomas, and I'm forgetting someone. Oh, Tyreek Hill. Yeah, Tyreek Hill. So I have all 5 of those guys ahead of Odell Beckham Jr. Yeah, Hopkins, Adams are great. Hopkins is the number 1 receiver typically in fantasy. Adams is super duper consistent. Thomas is the number 1 target in a high-powered Saints offense. He's going to get like the most targets of anyone in football. Julio, despite what Andre might say about him, has monster games from time to time, and he's been a top 5 receiver for years now. And the last guy on the scene, Tyreek Hill, plays in the number 1 offense on a guy who throws like 50 touchdowns. Yeah, like, of course, all those guys are like, they're staying with their same teams, same situation. All the situations are good. Like, Hopkins has Deshaun Watson. Devontae Adams has Aaron Rodgers. Even if it is a new head coach, a new offensive system, it's still the same quarterback. And the offense is still going to revolve around that quarterback. You have Michael Thomas with Drew Brees and Sean Payton. Duh. Tyreek Hill still has Patrick Mahomes, still has Andy Reid. Simple. Easy. I get it. Julio, Matt Ryan, still has Dan Quinn. Different offensive coordinator, so we have Dirk Cutter rather than Steve Sarkisian, because Sarkisian's terrible. His best year was under Kyle Shanahan, who's the coach out in San Francisco, so whatever Julio gave me last year will definitely be better with Cutter as the offensive coordinator rather than Sarkisian, who's now the OC at Alabama. And they did not look great today, by the way. Don't like Sark. But it's beside the point. All those guys I have ahead of him. So why would I take Odell Beckham Jr.? Because I believe in the upside. So Odell has missed a lot of games. He's missed more games in the last 3 years than Sammy Watkins, another guy who is magically on my team now. But again, that upside, oh my goodness. I have all these guys scoring around 200, 210 points. It's very, very close. Like the top end's like Hopkins at like 211 and Odell's at like 200. But Odell's upside, I have it like 250, 255. All the other guys' highest upside tops out at like 220, 225. I have Odell being basically, if he were to, reach his ceiling, let's call it his ceiling, he would be a top 5 running back essentially. I think Odell Beckham Jr. is one of the 3 most talented players in the NFL. I think just purely on athleticism. I know, he was injury prone last year. He was injury prone the year before. I understand. He misses games. It's not good. And unlike those other teams, he's going to a different quarterback on a different team with obviously a different offensive system with other offensive stars around him. So they spent a first-round pick on David Njoku. They have Nick Chubb. They have Jarvis Landry, who they traded for. Antonio Callaway, who's suspended, which is weird. They picked up Kareem Hunt. Baker Mayfield's the new guy in town. It's only his second year. Lots of things can go wrong, but I can't turn down that upside. I remember his rookie year, and Holly made that trade with Ryan. I thought about making the trade, but I was like, he's a rookie wide receiver. When was the last time, a rookie wide receiver really mattered? It came back and haunted me. It still haunts me. Um, Odell Beckham Jr. dropping 45 on me in the playoffs and me not winning a championship because he was a monster. Um, that's that is 2015, and it's very fresh in my brain. And I remember that year, and they just fed him like crazy. And with the injuries have come, and Eli being less accurate has come, and the offensive systems have changed in New York. And we went through Ben McAdoo, and then we have Pat Shurmur, and it's just. But he was he was a top 10 receiver. He just wakes up, drops 1,200 yards a year, no matter what, for the past 5 years. He's probably going to the Hall of Fame, and if he keeps his upward trajectory. But he's finally got an accurate quarterback in an offensive system with a team that's built around him. I can't pass that up. I see that. I've seen what he can do. I've seen what Baker did last year. I fall in love with that upside. So even though the other guys were the safer picks, even though if we said, who was probably the best pick on the board among the guys that were there, probably Michael Thomas, just because he's really, really safe. Even more safe than Devontae Adams because they have a new offensive, coach in Matt LaFleur. You know what you're getting with Thomas. I mean, they trade away Brandon Cooks a couple years ago, and Thomas just soaks up the targets, and it's all about Drew Brees, and you have Sean Payton, and it's the same system, and he just thrives in it. But there's a lot of unknown with Odell Beckham Jr., but I love that. I love the unknown. Let's go jumping into it and see what we can find. I want to try and win a championship. So I took Odell. I just think he's an incredible athlete, and if he can somehow manage to stay healthy, he's going to put up monster numbers. If he could get like 11 catches a game, he would get like maybe 10, 12, for a touchdown a game possibly. It's ridiculous. He is ridiculous. So after that, I was going to take some running backs. I had taken Elliott. Elliott might be holding out. Dylan definitely knows after last year with Fournette and having to start Peyton Barber and life being very difficult. Even last year I took a bunch of running backs, but I was going to do the same thing this year. I'm just like, well, we got to go get some running backs, and we're going to be even more running back heavy this year. So a lot of guys that I liked on the board were taken. I really liked. So this is my review. I'll talk about some of the things going on because this is about me. I already know how I feel about me in my draft. I like the Josh Jacobs risk by Justin. Justin, I think you did your sleeper team. I liked your draft quite a bit. We'll get into that. I liked the Michael Thomas pick by Ryan for reasons I just went through. Thomas is super safe. I like the Aaron Jones pick by Sarah. I think Aaron Jones is a superstar. I think Aaron Jones is the back that reminds me most of Barry Sanders. I think that even if they tell me that Aaron Rodgers is the best player on that team, which I believe, and even if you tell me that you got to build the team around Aaron Rodgers, which I also believe, if you could just give Aaron Jones the ball 15 times a game for 16 games, you might have the best running back in football. That's all I want for him. I just don't believe they'll do that because I don't know. I don't know why you wouldn't do that. Everything about LaFleur tells me that they're not going to do that, and that really angers me. But if things had fallen the way I originally felt they were going to fall, I probably would have taken Odell Beckham Jr. in the first round and Aaron Jones in the second round. Don't give a damn who else is on the board at running back. I wanted Aaron Jones. Tyreek Hill pick by Andre. Lots of upside. Hill plays in an amazing offense. A really easy schedule. Damian Williams. I really like Damian Williams by Mac. I'm really high on him. I was thinking about, what if I went like double running back if I didn't take Odell? Williams probably would have been my pick. I probably would have gone something like Aaron Jones, Damian Williams, something like that. I have no idea. But I really like Damian Williams. He looked really good in his 5 games with the Chiefs. I don't know if they're going to shine LaShawn McCoy, but, it's he's a good player. He's not a great player, but it's more with the system with Reed. They're going to feed him. He reminds me a lot of Brian Westbrook, who used to play with Donovan McNabb in those Andy Reid Philadelphia days when they went to 5 straight NFC championship games. Yeah, so I like Damian Williams. I even liked Stefan's Juju Smith-Schuster pick. One of the few picks I liked if you're Stefan, to be completely frank. But yeah, Julio Jones. I like Julio. Derrick Henry looked tremendous ending the year last year. I don't think he'll be that crazy this year, but they want to go run heavy in Tennessee, so he'll be probably pretty good. Mark Ingram in Baltimore. I'm going through a list of players. I'm going through all these teams. Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette fell in the 3rd round. I would have loved to have Leonard Fournette again. I know he was injured last year. I don't care. He is Nick Foles. They're actually building an actual offense where it's not just like, hey, you know what? There's like 9 people in the box, but we're just going to give Leonard Fournette the ball, and we're not going to put him in an ideal situation to do what he does best. No, we're actually going to build a 21st century offense and try and put Nick Foles and Leonard Fournette in the best situations to succeed. Look at that. Look what you can do. I'm just going through all of these teams. Like Julian Edelman, I like that pick for Charlie. Edelman, I'm high on. All that being said, I took David Montgomery, rookie, Bears. Why? I know some people might have been lower on him than I am. Me taking risks on rookies is no surprise. I took Royce Freeman last year. That blew up in my face. Rookies tend to blow up in your face from time to time. But Matt Nagy comes from the Andy Reid tree. So just like Doug Peterson, who is in Philadelphia, Matt Nagy watched what Andy Reid did. Andy Reid, fed Brian Westbrook back in the day. He had LaShawn McCoy. Then he had Kareem Hunt. Now he has Damian Williams. Notice a pattern. Really good running backs. David Montgomery at Iowa State never had breakaway speed, but he can break tackles. And the Bears, Ryan Pace, their GM, traded up 14 spots, giving up a 4th and 5th rounder and their 3rd rounder just to get him. When you trade up to get your guy, that means you really believe in your guy. And then they trade away Jordan Howard to Philadelphia. Funny enough, because I got another guy who's dealing with Jordan Howard now. So Tariq Cohen was very, very efficient last year. He catches the ball, but he's not the number 1 running back. And some people are high on Mike Davis. I think Davis is a good player. I think he's a quality player. He was a good back for Seattle last year, but they let him go, and they were like the run heaviest team in the NFL, and they let him go. And you have to remember, free agency opens in the NFL before the draft. So if they didn't draft a running back, then Mike Davis would have been the guy. And I think he has talent, but Montgomery reminds me a lot of Kareem Hunt. Who did Kareem Hunt get drafted by? Andy Reid. Who was an offensive coordinator with Kareem Hunt under Andy Reid? Matt Nagy. So I think this is Nagy getting a player, him and Ryan Pace getting a player that they think fits their system. Because Jordan Howard did not fit their system at all. I don't really think Jordan Howard fits Philadelphia's system at all, because Kansas City, Chicago, and Philadelphia all relatively run the same system. So I think that Montgomery has a lot of upside. I don't know if he steps in and takes over that complete Jordan Howard role with 270 carries. But if he can get 225 carries, it's worth it. And it's not like those carries are going to Tariq Cohen. They've talked about how they want to get him less work because he was hyper efficient last year, and they're afraid of him getting hurt. So I had David Montgomery as the 17th running back on my board. This is the 11th pick of the 3rd round. So I was just going to be like, yeah, no, I want a running back. Most of the running backs I might have taken who were better are gone. So Devontae Freeman, Leonard Fournette, Josh Jacobs, Damian Williams, Joe Mixon win the 1st round, Chubb win the 1st round, Gurley win the 1st round. I'm not going to go through all the 1st round guys, but yeah. So I was probably going to take Montgomery before even a few of them. Probably I had Montgomery so high that I would take him over Fournette, I would take him over Carson, I would take him over Freeman, I would take him over Johnson, I would take him over Derrick Henry. probably over Mark Ingram, definitely over Sonny Michel. I'm very high on David Montgomery. I, as you saw from my flame war with Robbie, I'm not a fan of Mitch Trubisky, not at all. Someone's got to get the ball. Someone's got to score. Why can't it be David Montgomery? Why can't he be the goal line back like Jordan Howard? Why can't he do what Jordan Howard did a couple years ago when Jordan Howard was the 5th best running back in fantasy football? I don't know. Kareem Hunt was really good. Brian Westbrook was really good. Nagy comes from that coaching tree. Nagy went and got his guy. I think his guy is Montgomery, and I think Montgomery is the man. I think he's going to get fed, and if he stays healthy, this is his team. I think, honestly, they signed Allen Robinson, and they drafted Mitch Trubisky, and they have Chris Long at center, and I really like him. But honestly, the best offensive player I think on the Bears is David Montgomery, and I'm really excited to see what he can do. And we'll find out Thursday night against the Packers. But I'm very high on David Montgomery. I was going to take him even if I had a high third-round pick, unless magically, I guess, I don't know, Antonio Brown somehow fell magically here to me, and even then I'd have a hard time justifying that over David Montgomery. So, because I'm not that high on Brown. All the other guys I might have been high on, like Hopkins and stuff, I knew they'd be gone. So yeah, we were going David Montgomery. My next pick was kind of funny in the sense, because, I mean, I went with Duke Johnson. I had him as the best running back on the board at the time. I was kind of hopeful. I was kind of hopeful that Philip Lindsay might have fallen, but Patrick ended up taking him, which I understand completely because Lindsay's a good player. And most of the other running backs, ahead of him at this time were gone. So, obviously the top 15 or so odd running backs are all gone. I think the next best running back is Kenyon Drake. So for me, the way I looked at it, yeah, Kenyon Drake was the next running back taken, and then Austin Eckler. So I was just and then Geis, and then Murray. Yeah. So I had Duke Johnson. Even now with Carlos Hyde getting traded to the Texans, and the Texans basically going completely bonkers and trading 2 first-round picks, a second-round pick for Kenny Stills and Laramie Tunsil. Tunsil's a good young left tackle, and they're going to pay him like a king, but that's a lot to give up, man. That's more than some franchise quarterbacks are traded for. That's more capital than they traded for to get Deshaun Watson. So, yeah, no, I don't think Carlos Hyde is very good. This is his 5th team in 2 years since week 1 of last year. He got dumped so Nick Chubb could play. He got dumped so Leonard Fournette could play. He got dumped so Damian Williams could play. Why couldn't he get dumped so Duke Johnson could play? I like Duke Johnson. I think Duke Johnson was undervalued in Cleveland because he was on some really terrible teams and he was still getting quality production. I think he has been seen as a pass-catching back, even though he is the all-time leading rusher at the University of Miami, which has had incredible running backs there, by the way. I mean, if you think about it, Clinton Portis, Willis McGahee, just incredible history of great running backs. And Duke Johnson is the leading rusher of all time, and yet he is a pass-catching back. So I like Duke Johnson even before Lamar Miller went down, but once Lamar Miller went down, I'm I'm buying me some Duke Johnson. And now with Carlos Hyde, I'm actually kind of happy it's Carlos Hyde and not Jay Ajayi or obviously Melvin Gordon. Or really any running back I think has talent, because it's going to be pretty clear they're going to try and run Carlos Hyde, and they're going to be wow, this isn't working. Let's put Duke Johnson in there, and it's going to be very clear who the better player is, and that's Duke Johnson. So this was a reach. I didn't know how this would shake out. We're only now finding out a week later how it's shaking out. It shaked out well, but obviously this was very much a risk. There were other players on the board I could have taken. I like Diggs. Um, I like Galladay. Keenan Allen was such a steal in the fourth round, man. Um, yeah, I don't love Jeffrey. Latavius Murray's not bad. I think he might be really if he gets the goal line touches, he might be really valuable. But for me, I just looked at it and I was just like, I believe in his opportunity. I believe in Watson's talent. I think that with the Lamar Miller gone, no matter who they bring in, Duke Johnson's a very good player, and I think this is going to be the first time he can lead a backfield, and he knows this is his opportunity. Plus, considering the fact I took or Ezekiel Elliott, who might be sitting out games, and Odell Beckham, who tends to get hurt quite often, and I just took a rookie, Duke Johnson's never missed a game. He's been healthy his entire career. So, yeah, dude's been healthy his entire career, has an opportunity on a new team to be the best player, second best player on that, third best player on that offense. Wow. I just went through, he's like, second best? No. First, no. Hopkins, Watson, then Duke Johnson. Okay, yeah. But I like Duke Johnson. And I think this is his opportunity, and I think he knows that. And they value him because they trade him for a third round pick. I mean, freaking Marshawn Lynch did not go for a third round pick when he got traded. So yeah, I I thought he was the best player on the board. I thought there was a lot of upside there, and I was willing to take the risk that even if they signed someone, it would be Duke Johnson's backfield, and I still feel that way, even with Carlos Hyde, because Carlos Hyde is not a very good running back. He's just kind of inefficient. We'll say that. So fifth round, this was kind of dicey. I had a target, and this is a credit to Justin. I was looking at Cooper Kupp. I like Cooper Kupp. I traded for Cooper Kupp last year, and then his knee blew out. I think he's looked really good. I think that offense obviously played better with him in it. I think that's a credit to them. I had Odell Beckham Jr. I was looking at Cooper Kupp. It was Kupp or Saunders for me. So I did like Tevin Coleman as well, who was on the board, who got taken in that round too. And I do like Alshon Jeffrey as well. So I don't want to make it seem like, I was just focused on one guy. I did have a target. It was two targets. It was Kupp and Saunders, but there were other players I did like. Once Kupp was taken, it was very clear to me it was important to take Saunders. So I had Duke Johnson as the 25th running back. I have Saunders actually lower. I have Saunders as my 24th running back. I just thought someone would take Duke Johnson before they took Miles Saunders. And I ended up being right. Saunders fell to me in the fifth round. And I was very pleased with that because it was either him or Cooper Kupp for me. So I was happy I got one of them. And so, do the Eagles have a running back by committee? Yes, they cut Josh Adams and Wendell Smallwood today, but they still have Jordan Howard and Corey Clement and Darren Sproles to go along with Miles Saunders. So I imagine a lot of you who are watching this are just like, well, you know all that. It's just like the Patriots. They have a bunch of committee. And yeah, that's true. But unlike for me, I know Brian took Sonny Michel in the second round. I really like Sonny Michel. I think he's a great talent, but again, he's in a committee. And even if there's a wide variance of outcomes that could occur. I think the same thing is true for Miles Saunders. So I don't want to make it seem like it's just like you're being hypocritical. Why'd you take Saunders? The reason why I took Saunders, though, is I don't have to pay second round grade like Brian did for Sonny Michel. I'm paying fifth round. And they took him in the second round. I think Saunders had to wait his term at Penn State behind Saquon Barkley. Obviously, Saquon went, he went second overall last year to the Giants, and Saunders was sitting there being his backup. He only started 1 year at Penn State, and yet the Eagles, who are a very, very adept, good team at drafting Carson Wentz, Lane Johnson, they pick up Alshon Jeffrey, very, very adept at getting players into their system and excelling Zach Ertz, Trey Burton. They went and got a running back in the second round. That's pretty high amount of draft capital used on running back. I think Saunders has the talent to be their first workhorse running back since LaShawn McCoy. I think that Jordan Howard is what he is, and he's a hammer, and he can't catch the ball. And you give him the ball, and you behind that very elite offensive line. I have the Eagles as being the number one offensive line in football, and Jordan Howard can get you 5 yards. He can get you above average, with that great, amazing line. He can get you decent amount of work. I think Darren Sproles has a role being the punt returner and catching passes. I think Corey Clement also catching passes as well. It's kind of like if I had to compare all of the players one-to-one on Patriots and Eagles, I would say Corey Clement is James White. I would say there's Miles Saunders is Sonny Michel. I would say that Darren Sproles reminds me of Rex Burkhead, actually. And we'll ignore Bolden on the Patriots, so that just leaves Jordan Howard with Damian Harris. Yeah. So, yeah, the committees are very similar. But the same way I think the Patriots used a first-round pick on Michelle, and he's got a lot of talent, so finding him later in the draft is really good find. But I think Brian paid a premium for that. I thought that getting Saunders at this low in the draft was a steal. I think he's really good. I think, obviously, the Eagles are one of the teams that know what they're doing with their team. They're not, unfortunately, the Texans. I picked Duke Johnson, but I can't say the Texans know what they're doing. Bill O'Brien's kind of just throwing trades out like wild. But I really like Miles Saunders. I think he's very talented. I think that them using a second-round pick on him shows their belief in him, and I think this is his backfield from Jump Street. I think there's going to be a role initially for Jordan Howard, as I said when Brian took Jordan Howard, because he took Jordan Howard in this same round, just 3 picks after me. I think it's going to start out, and Jordan Howard's going to get some work, and that's why Saunders is going to chill on my bench, I hope. But I think by mid-season, kind of like Nick Chubb and Carlos Hyde last year, it's going to be very clear who the best running back is. And unlike Hugh Jackson needing to get fired from Cleveland, Doug Peterson's going to figure it out and be like, all right, let's give the kid the ball. So I'm very, very high on Miles Saunders, and that's why I'm very, very pleased I got him. So my next 2 picks are really where we just go kind of bananas. As I mentioned in the previous video, Rich definitely sniped Tyler Lockett. I was really hoping to get Tyler Lockett. If Saunders hadn't been there and Kupp obviously was taken, I was going to take Lockett. So I was very hopeful because there were quite a few receivers on the board at the time. There was Robbie Anderson, Lockett, DJ Moore, Josh Gordon, and Tyler Boyd. I was very, very hopeful that Lockett would be the one to fall to me. That's not what happened. So I think DJ Moore's really good. I think Curtis Samuel's the better receiver. I like Taj Boyd. I think AJ Green's going to come back. Robbie Anderson can be very good. Adam Gase is not a very good coach. And Lockett's gone. So where does that leave me? It leaves me with the guy who literally got suspended again last year, hasn't played a full season since 2013, I think. Gosh, I'd have to go back and check. It might be 20. He led the league in receiving in 2015, but we're still hanging on. But we're just going to jump in. We're taking Josh Gordon. Why are we taking Josh Gordon? Josh Gordon's like the 28th receiver on my board. He's pretty low. There were better receivers I had up there. Alshon got taken, but I actually funny enough, I had Tyler Boyd higher than him, DJ Moore higher than him. They immediately went right after it. There were some receivers that went way late that I had higher than him. Like, for example, like Christian Kirk. I like Christian Kirk a lot. I actually had him higher. I have Christian Kirk as being a top 25 receiver this year. D.D. Westbrook went in the 10th round, I believe. This is round 6. I had Westbrook as the 24th receiver. I have Gordon as the 28th. So yeah, why am I taking this guy when I have other receivers on the board that I have ranked higher? Upside, I mean, come on, you know me. There's no more Gronk. Gronk has retired. There are still a bunch of running backs, but they either run the ball or they're James White and they catch the ball out of the backfield. There is Julian Edelman, but Chris Hogan's gone. Most of the receivers are gone. They just cut Demaryius Thomas today. Can you name another receiver on the Patriots right now, today, other than Edelman and Gordon? It's pretty hard, especially with the tight ends gone too, with Gronk gone. There's a lot of targets. Someone has to catch the ball from Brady. Why can't it be Josh Gordon? Last year, the Browns cut him. The Patriots picked him up. They immediately threw him to the fire. They didn't give him much time to learn the playbook, and he eventually started catching the ball before going on sabbatical again and then going into South Florida to go into rehab. Can he stay clean for 16 games? I doubt it, unfortunately. I hope for him too. That's why I drafted him, but history says that's a very low possibility. But as unfortunately, the commissioner, Roger Goodell, has said this is his last chance. I mean, if Belichick gives up on him, nobody's going to ever give him another chance, to be honest with you. I don't think anyone else basically is able to take a chance on him. No one else has the cojones, essentially, to do that. I think Josh Gordon had Hall of Fame talent coming out of Baylor. In the supplemental draft. I don't see that speed that made him Flash Gordon once upon a time as much. He's not a very good route runner. He doesn't have the speed, but he can be a very tall, efficient, good hands possession receiver. And someone's got to catch passes from Brady. Someone does. So why not? Let's just jump in. If he can somehow last the whole year, play the whole season, not go into rehab, not get suspended, not get injured, man, that's a lot of hopes. Hopes are going to die probably. But if he can somehow do that and he were to catch 75 passes, he has huge upside. Because, I mean, someone has to catch the ball in New England. Someone has to score touchdowns. It can't just be like the running backs and Edelman, especially with Gronk gone. Someone has to, so why not Josh Gordon? Why not? So I was going to take him. Upside. The upside with Brady is monstrous. Brady, he's the most talented receiver Brady has played with since Randy Moss. If he can just stay clean, he could be tremendous, but it's super duper risky. I'm aware of that. But I was going to take him. He's my number 2 wide receiver right now. If it doesn't work out, I'll figure it out. But I really want Lockett. I thought Lockett was much, much safer. And it's unfortunate I didn't get him because I had Lockett at 14 and Gordon at 28. But if Lockett's gone, we're going with Gordon and we're just going to roll with it. So moving into the 7th round, this is probably the pick I regret the most now. Having read Warren Sharp's book, which I showed in the last video, Dion Lewis was not very good for Tennessee last year. He was very inefficient. He was not good at running the ball. He was not good at catching the ball. He was very bad. When they went more to Derrick Henry in the last 4 weeks of the season, Derrick Henry went bananas. And the Tennessee offense actually looked really good because Derrick Henry, lo and behold, is a good running back. Who knew? A lot of people knew. But I figured, Dion Lewis has a role as the pass catcher. It's not all that far removed from being a pretty good player in New England as the pass catcher, kind of like a la James White took his role now. And he's still on a 4-year, $20 million deal that Tennessee paid him. So he's still going. They gave him that contract because they believed in him. Obviously, Matt LaFleur has moved on to be the coach of the Green Bay Packers, so the offensive coordinator's gone. But I believe in the role that Dion Lewis has. I remember him being a top 10 running back before getting hurt a few years ago in New England. I know that Tennessee is going run heavy, and they have said as much. And Derrick Henry can't get like 30, 35 touches a game. Like, he'll just break down. So I was thinking, Dion Lewis is a good player, and I want to make sure I'm totally good at running back. I want to make sure and certain of it. So we're gonna jump in again. And I regret it now because look what happened. Devin Singletary is now the starting running back in Buffalo. LaShawn McCoy might end up with the Chargers. Like, how I can't be expected to know that, but it still just really is a bummer because considering the fact that I have the other two rookies, I have David Montgomery and Miles Sanders, it would have been really fun to have the third rookie running back in Devin Singletary on my team as well. That would have been really super cool, but I guess it just wasn't in the cards. The other one was Matt Breida. I would have really liked to have had Matt Breida now that Jerick McKinnon is out for the season, and Breida is the starter in San Francisco. Who knew? So, yeah, instead I picked Dion Lewis, who is the backup pass catcher in Tennessee and wasn't very good last year and isn't very exciting and might be losing time to Derrick Henry. Not a good pick, Dylan. See, when I do the safe thing, this was like my safe pick. I'm like, oh, he's got a role and, they believe in him. And even though he wasn't very good, I could see him getting some work. This was my safe pick, and I regret it because I could have just swung for the fences and it would have worked out immediately with Devin Singletary, man. But luckily, we didn't do the safe thing for long because then we immediately went back. All right, back to the upside. I talked to Brian about this. Brian was just like, yeah, I don't really want to take AJ Green. I think he's just like injury prone, and I do believe in the phrase, if you're limping into the season, chances are you're limping out of the season. I agree with that, but I think, what was it I mentioned? I did a lot of research on AJ Green because I figured he would fall. I didn't expect him to fall this far, to be honest with you. Like, all the way in the 8th round is really far. I don't know why other people might not have taken him. I guess they were scared of the injury. I think he's only going to be out like maybe 3 or 4 games, so I can just stash him on my IR. And by this time, I mean, I already have 4 running backs. I have my starting receivers if Josh Gordon doesn't, relapse again. Let's cross our fingers and hope for that. Where is it? Where is what I said? I'm going to find it, even if it takes me forever. But I think the point is essentially with AJ Green. Yeah, so he was wide receiver number 8 in the 10 games he played last year when he was healthy. He's never been worse than wide receiver 17 on a per game basis in his entire career. So if he plays, he essentially produces. I understand that the Bengals have a bad offense. I understand they have a bad offensive line. I understand they have a mediocre quarterback. I understand they have a new coach in Zach Taylor who comes over from the Rams. I understand all of this. I am aware of it. I see it. I make no qualms about it. But AJ Green was a top 5 receiver for a number of years, despite all of these barriers that I just mentioned being true. I know he's older. He's 31. But he's still the best player on that team. He still soaks up a ton of target share. They still have a hard time winning without him. He still scores touchdowns. He's still an elite player when he's healthy, fully healthy. And so, for me, I was like, hey, if I get 10 games out of him and he's going in the 8th round like this, Let's go for it. He could miss 6 games. I don't give a crap. If he's healthy for the playoffs, I don't care. Because healthy AJ Green is top 8 receiver in fantasy. And I'm getting him at a bargain price. A top 8 receiver usually goes in like the first or second round. I'm getting him the 8th of a 14-team league. Like, really? We're going to draft other guys like Dak Prescott? We're taking defensive players like J.J. Watt? Naheem Hines went in this round. You can't tell me you're going to tell me Naheem Hines is better than A.J. Green when A.J. Green's outscored Naheem Hines every year of his career, including last year when Green only played 10 games, yet Naheem Hines played 16? Really? Really? Like, come on now. Come on. That's crazy. So, I don't know how he lasted this long. I'm really miffed by it. I know for me, in my draft strategy, something that I do every year, you can go back and check if you want. I don't need to because I'm aware of it. I take injury guys. I just do. I took Fournette last year and I knew he was an injury guy. I took Jerick McKinnon. Boom, blows out his knee. Who knew? Dylan did immediately. But I think they're undervalued. And so I get them. And if it doesn't work out, I used an 8th round pick on a guy who didn't work out. That's fine. I'll cut him and find somebody else. Not a big deal. It's much better than Naheem Hines. What? So, AJ Green's really good when he's healthy. I think the offense still revolves around him. He'll break down one of these years, but, maybe this is the year. I have no idea. You have no idea. Let's go by what's been occurring for the last 10 years, which is A.J. Green being excellent, and figure it out from there. So, yeah. Maybe he's Larry Fitzgerald. Who knows? I hope so. Next pick. So, by this time, I have taken one wide receiver in OBJ who is injury prone. I have taken 2 wide receiver in A.J. Green, who is also injury prone. I have taken possibly could get suspended for season Josh Gordon also as well. It seems like I've taken a lot of guys who are very, very risky to not make it through the season, and you would be right. So why don't we actually try and take someone who we think can stay healthy? So we took Sterling Shepard. He is the number 1 receiver now on the Giants with OBJ in Cleveland. Golden Tate suspended the first 4 games, and Corey Coleman blew out his knee. So, yeah, this is Sterling Shepard's basically the guy now. I suppose. If it's Ingram, they also spent a first-round pick on him a few years ago, and he is going to contribute too. And I think Eli Manning is done. Don't get me wrong on that. But, again, someone's got to catch the ball. They're going to score at some point. You can't just give the ball to Barkley 550 times. I mean, you could try, but he'd break down at that point. At most, he's going to get 300 touches. So, someone's got to get the ball. Why not Sterling Shepard? He broke his thumb, which is unfortunate. It seems like everyone's getting nicked up for the Giants, but he's a good player. He signed an extension. I don't think he's crazy talented. He's more of a slot receiver. I don't know how that's going to work with Golden Tate when he comes back because they basically serve the same role. I don't believe in Eli. The offensive line's okay. Barkley's going to soak up a lot of the touches. But despite all that, it's the 9th round. I want a receiver. I got him as the best receiver on the board. I have him as receiver number 36. I have A.J. Green as receiver number 37. So, why not? Like, there are other receivers, I suppose, who are available, but why not? I mean, I could have taken Corey Davis, but I didn't. I could have taken Christian Kirk, D.D. Westbrook, but I like these guys. I like A.J. Green because he's been consistently excellent, and I like the idea of Sterling Shepard being the number 1 target in the offense, even if it's a bad offense. 10th round. I took my quarterback. I am so proud of so many of you for learning to not reach for quarterbacks. Like, I'm so happy. Like, all of the teams that I have low, like, ranked poorly this year are basically teams who reach for quarterbacks. So, like, I put Rich at, like, 10th. I think I have Stefan really low because he took Matt Ryan way too high. I definitely have Eileen too low. I have Charlie really low. I have Vivian low because they all took quarterbacks high, and that never works. It never works. So I'm so proud of so many of you for like looking at the board and being like, you know what? I'm gonna wait on a quarterback. We'll see who falls to me, and it worked out. It worked out really, really great. Like Justin got Drew Brees in like the 10th round, and like Ryan got Cam Newton in the 10th round, and Sarah got Jimmy Garoppolo in the 10th round. Like that's super awesome. And now Brian picked up Jameis Winston off free agency for free. Like that's super great. Matt got Jared Goff in the 11th round. Do I really like Jared Goff? Not really, but you know that's okay because he can just go out and get someone else. Like it's silly to waste a ton of draft capital on quarterbacks, unless you and even if you really believe in one, you can find someone else who will probably be just as good. So yeah, I'm so proud of so many of you for waiting on quarterbacks. Thank you. Please continue to do what you're doing. You're just showing why you probably make the playoffs because you learn. You learn and you grow and you do better. So thank you. I appreciate you. You know who you are. So for me, at this time, I was just like, well, I had him last year. He was great. Let's do it again. Let's see if it can last a whole season. Let's go get Lamar Jackson. So I did it. I went with Lamar Jackson. I mean, there are other quarterbacks obviously I had ahead of him, but they were all gone. I really liked Andre taking Carson Wentz. I had Wentz probably being the MVP this upcoming year. He's going to be a monster. So I was sad to see Wentz go. I really like Baker Mayfield for you, Rich. Mayfield's going to be terrific. I wouldn't have drafted OBJ if I didn't think Mayfield could get on the ball. So Mayfield's like my 5th best quarterback. I got Wentz at 4. Watson's 3, Watson's 2. Mahomes is obviously 1, but I had no qualms to spend the draft capital to get any of them. So yeah, I was just like, I have Roethlisberger at 7. So, well, actually, no, yeah. So yeah, I have Lamar Jackson at 7. There we go. Roethlisberger's 8. I don't know what the Baltimore offense is going to come out like, and I know that they can't run the ball as much as they did last year, which is 15 carries for Lamar Jackson a game. That's dangerous. Then he becomes RG3 and possibly blows out his knee. But this is fantasy football. We take what is given. If I'm drafting in a double-digit round, do I want a statue like Phillip Rivers with no upside? Do I want to risk it with someone who actually could give me the unknown, we'll call it? If Lamar Jackson rushes the ball 8 times a game, and he rushes the ball for 35 yards and a touchdown, that's 9.5 points of rushing. I don't care if he throws for only like 200 yards and another touchdown. The rushing touchdown and the rushing yards are worth a lot. Like a lot more than the passing yards. So if he can give me half a season of that, deal. It's the 10th round. I'll find someone else to make a run in the playoffs. I picked up Josh Allen for $1 last year, and he almost won me a championship. Like, I don't understand people wasting capital on quarterbacks. Like, again, I appreciate you guys who wait on them because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense to waste, like, high draft capital on quarterbacks. Like, why? Because you're not going to win a championship. You might not even make the playoffs. And if the guy gets hurt, you're definitely not, because you wasted a pick on you didn't build any depth. You wasted a pick on a quarterback. Having a second quarterback as your backup, you're wasting roster space on a quarterback. Just, it's insane. I don't get it. So I draft Lamar Jackson. I hope he stays healthy. If he doesn't, that's okay. Quarterback's super easy to turn over. If he does, great. I think he'll be terrific because he can run the ball. So yeah, he was the guy I was zeroing in on, and he is the guy who I got, so I am happy with it. That worked out very well for me. I know that in the next round, I waited. It's the 11th round. A lot of people, are taking defensive players. A kicker was taken mysteriously. Marvin Jones was taken. I like that pick, but this is another instance where you sniped me, Justin. This was another guy who I really did want. I did really want Mark Andrews because I want to team him with Lamar Jackson. I think they have really good chemistry. I think Andrews was his best target last year, and I think he's going to control the middle of the field again, despite the fact that they used a first-round pick on Hayden Hurst last year, which is still kind of strange to me. But yeah, no, I think they're going to use their twin tight end set with Jackson, and Andrews will be one of his biggest beneficiaries. So I really did want Mark Andrews, but you took him from me. So what are we going to do? Before last year's injury-prone year, Greg Olsen had never been lower than the top 7 tight end ever. If that was last year the new normal, or is it the anomaly? It's the 11th round, so I don't really care. Let's gamble like it is the anomaly and hope for the best. So I rolled the dice. I grabbed Greg Olsen. I was just like, well, I think Olsen's good, and if he doesn't work out, I'm sure I'll figure out tight end. I don't waste high picks on tight ends because, I can find George Kittle for free. I can find Kyle Rudolph for free. I know how to find tight ends. It's not terribly difficult. So, yeah, I'm not too worried about it. I'm not going to be one of those teams like using a high pick for a tight end. That's silly. You're paying a premium, and if the guy gets hurt, you're done. And even more so, chances are, instead of getting hurt, he's probably just going to give you less than what he was because you're paying full price tag for a guy that probably won't produce his career year, which is what that was. Case in point, George Kittle, when literally everyone around him got hurt. So, yeah, I'll pay 11th round price for Greg Olsen, sure. Why not? Roll the dice, see what happens. He doesn't work out, cool, I'll figure something out. And now we're just going to kind of get into guys I traded, or guys I've picked up. Since I picked up a ton of players, I completely rebuilt my defense, and I got a kicker, and I cut basically everyone on the back end after that pick is gone. So I took Corey Davis, he's gone. I took Ito Smith, he's gone. I took Devin Bush, he's gone. Jack Doyle's gone. Devin White's gone. Jadeveon Clowney's gone. Greg Joseph's gone. Why did I do all that? So, I got to take defensive players at some point. But the way I figured it, I'm not like the rest of you guys where I'm just like, oh, I really want to take a defensive player. Like freaking Darius Leonard went in the 6th round this year. Like, huh? Or like, I don't know, in the 11th round, people were taking, like Luke Kuechly went, the round before that, Landon Collins went, round before that, Leighton Vander Esch, Khalil Mack went. Like, we're using single-digit rounds. Like, freaking, J.J. Watt, went in, the 8th round. It's wild. Nah, I don't believe in that. If anything, there's so many defensive players, someone's bound to be good. No one drafted Darius Leonard last year. Now he's the number one linebacker, so I'm going to take him in the 6th round? That's nuts. No, I'll just wait and see what happens on free agency. In the meantime, I'll pick up guys who were pretty good last year. So, thank you, Vivian, for mysteriously deciding to chop up your team and destroy whatever depth you had. Quan Alexander was a top 10 linebacker last year. You cut him. Jordan Poyer was the number 9 safety last year. Number 9 defensive back in football last year in fantasy. You cut him. Thank you. DeForest Buckner, I think, is the best defensive tackle in football for fantasy. Picked him up. He's got 65 tackles every year the last 3 years in a row. We'll talk more about the other guys I picked up on offense. So I dropped Corey Davis to pick up this guy. I picked up Sammy Watkins. I like Corey Davis quite a bit, but Marcus Mariota is not terribly accurate, and even though Corey Davis gets a ton of targets, I bought that last year, and I think I took a 4th or 5th round pick on Corey Davis, and that just wasn't a fun time. I ended up cutting him halfway through the year, because despite all of his targets, they're not terribly accurate, and he just doesn't see the ball enough. They run the ball too much, to be honest with you. That's why it bothers me that everyone's so high on Derrick Henry when, they're spending all this money on Corey Davis, and they spent a second round pick on A.J. Brown. They spent more money on Adam Humphries. I'm like, are you even going to use those guys? You have Delaney Walker, too. Are you even going to throw the ball enough to justify paying these guys this much capital? I don't know. So, yeah, I don't know why Vivian cut Sammy Watkins, who was her 6th round pick, and I think is a pretty reasonable flex option as of today. And he's now on my bench, and I got him for free. Yeah, like Corey Davis, I took in the 12th round. Sammy Watkins was taken in the 6th round. Even if I think that was a reach at the time, it wasn't an erroneous reach. Like, let's say he's worth an 8th round pick. I got him for free. He's the number 2 receiver in Kansas City. If he's probably gonna get hurt, just like OBJ, just like Josh Gordon might be in rehab, just like AJ Green's already hurt, just like freaking Sterling Shepard has a broken thumb. Like, I'm all about these hurt guys. I'm just trying to piece together 16 games from them. I'm not expecting this guy to just be plug and just sit there for 16 games. That's not going to happen. So, yeah, if Watkins can give me 8 good games, then I'll take those 8 good games. Because he was a top 25 receiver for the 9 weeks he was healthy last year. Take that all day. Top 25 receiver, it is for free. Oh, yeah. I mean, he wasn't free in the draft because someone took him the 6th round, but then they mysteriously cut him. I don't get it. Whatever. And then I think the strangest thing you guys have probably noticed, I have a second tight end. Lo and behold, I have T.J. Hawkinson. You probably don't even know who that is. So he is the number 1 tight end on the Detroit Lions. They used the 8th overall pick on him, which is just, it's dumb. You don't take tight ends that high. That's really, really dumb. The last tight end to be taken that high is Vernon Davis in like number 5 overall in 2003. It's a long time ago. But why did I pick him up? Well, first, Matt Patricia's not a good coach. I don't like Matt Patricia as a head coach. He wants to run the ball and control the line of scrimmage and try and, what's this phrase that I hate? Keep momentum? None of those things really matter to me, to be completely honest with you. But they matter to him, and he runs the team, so he went out and drafted tight end at 8th overall. And Hawkinson can really block, but that's not why I picked him up, obviously. Golden Tate's gone. They really like Kenny Galladay. Marvin Jones is really good, but they're going to a run-heavy offense. You know who's on the field a lot in a run-heavy offense? The tight end, who was drafted at 8th overall, funny enough. Yet they have the $100 million quarterback. $100 million quarterback's got to give it somewhere. So that means probably a lot of play action. So I'm willing to roll the dice, see if Hawkinson is something. Just because the amount of draft capital used on him tells me that they believe in him. And if they believe in him that much, why not see if they actually use him? Because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to use your 1st round pick at 8th overall on a player you're not going to use fully to their maximum capacity. Just like, again, I'm taking rookies. I took Dave Montgomery. I took Miles Sanders. I'm taking basically, this is Lamar Jackson's first year as a starting quarterback. And now I'm taking T.J. Hawkinson. So I don't know how long Hawkinson will be on my team. But, I'm willing to give it a shot. If the Lions believe in him, and unfortunately, if Matt Patricia believes in him so much that they're going to spend that amount of draft capital on him, why not see if they actually use him? And if they don't, I'll be okay. I'll cut him and find something else. I always do. So, I guess that's the insight into my draft. This ran really long because I talked about my own team. I hope you were entertained, if nothing else. Ooh, draft grade. What would I give myself a draft grade? I mean, this is so hard because my team's so injury prone, and I always lean towards upside. honestly, I think I got a top 5 team. So B. I'll give myself a B, above average. Uh, I think I can build a championship team around Elliott, OBJ, uh, David Montgomery, and Josh Gordon. Funny enough, if Gordon stays clean. Um, and I like Duke Johnson and Miles Saunders. So yeah, I really, really like my top 6, like a lot. Deion Lewis isn't great. I like having AJ Green though. So really, if 3 of my top 5 running backs work out, I'm in great shape. And if 2 of my 5 wide receivers work out, I know I'll be pushing for a championship. Um, I hope Lamar Jackson works out, but I diversified. I took a lot of risk, but I diversified that risk among many different players. I don't think all of these players are going to work out, obviously, but I took so much depth that when one of them breaks down, I'm just going to fill the role and keep moving. So, yeah, I'm very hopeful this works out. I think I have a top 5 team. I like my team a lot. Again, I would like it more if I had Tyler Lockett, um, or instead of Deion Lewis, Matt Breida, or Devin Singletary. But, who knew that Devin Singletary would be the starting running back for the Buffalo Bills a week later? I didn't. So, yeah, but in the meantime, I like where I am. I like having the number 1 receiver for the Browns, the number 1 receiver for the Patriots, the number 1 receiver for the Bengals, the number 1 receiver for the Giants, the number 2 receiver for the Chiefs. I like having the number 1 running back for the Cowboys, the number 1 running back for the Bears, the number 1 running back for the Texans, the number 1 running back for the Eagles, the number 2 running back for the Titans. I like that. I like that a lot. I like having the number 1 quarterback in fantasy football. I like that. That's where I think the points are. So I try to take undervalued players and get the most out of them. Yeah, I like injury-prone guys. Sue me. It serves me well because I think they're undervalued. AJ Green, the 8th round, is an absolute steal, and no one's going to tell me differently because, that's ridiculous, especially considering the players that were on the board at the time. It's AJ Green, guys. He's when he's healthy, he's a top 10 receiver. Who cares if you only get half a season out of him? Those half the season, he's going to start for you. That's better than taking some dude who's going to sit on my bench for 14 out of 16 weeks. I want contributors who can help me win a championship. I don't want guys who are just going to chill on my bench because they have some value and I never use them. That makes no sense. So there's my review. I'll see if I can get more done tomorrow. I know obviously the next team is Justin, and I think Justin had a sneaky good draft, to be honest with you. I like Justin's draft quite a bit. I think Ryan had a really, really good draft. And I like Sarah's draft quite a bit too. Ugh. But it's past midnight now. Dylan is tired. So yeah, there you go. There's my draft review. Tell me what you think. Blah, 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 blah. Nap time.